So yeah, 14-3 at the half. Then it was 17-3 out of the half. And you just thought that the Seahawks were just going to run away with this thing. The Cardinals really had no shot, but they pulled off a comeback, or at least to tie it, and then the Seahawks with the knockout punch, Jason Myers kicking the field goal. But yeah, the first interception, miscommunication there, and then later Murray hits Marvin Harrison Jr. over the middle, and he's juggling the ball, and you got a sea of Seahawks all around him, and the ball gets knocked free and it's picked off the rebound. But the Seahawks didn't turn that into points. So the turnovers in this game from the Cardinals really didn't hurt them because the Seahawks failed to turn them into points. But still, it was a rough beginning of this game, or a rough half for Marvin Harrison Jr. and this Cardinals offense. But yeah, I mean, they put together some nice drives at the end. I guess the Seahawks defense got tired as well. That could have played a role into it. But yeah, they made it 20-13. Kyler hit Marvin Harrison Jr. for that 16-yard touchdown. The contested catch was in a good play. Then the Seahawks missed a field goal, and then the Cardinals once again go down the field, and Murray hits DeMercado for a 7-yard touchdown. And that during that drive before that, it was 4th and 4, and Murray hit Michael Wilson. He wasn't even looking at the ball when Murray threw it, and he ended up one-handing it and picking up the first down. So that was a great play by Michael Wilson. But yeah, like I said, Darnold, he hits Jackson Smith-Njigba, that 22-yard pass play, dropped it in the bucket, great pitch and catch, and that later set up the Jason Myers field goal from 52 yards out. So Darnold went 18-26 for 242, a touchdown, no picks, was sacked a few times. The Seahawks ran the ball for over 150 yards. Kenneth Walker had some good runs in this game, picked up 81 yards on the ground. Charbonnet had 39 and a touchdown. Could have had 2, but one of them got called back. He was kind of like the goal line running back, and Kenneth Walker was picking up everything prior to that. So yeah, he had a good game. Darnold had a big run at one point in this game for 24 yards. I thought he was going to take it. I briefly thought he was going to take it to the house, similar to what happened during the COVID season against the Broncos when he was with the Jets, and he ran a 50-yard touchdown in. Smith-Njigba, 4 for 79, had a good game. Elijah Arroyo, the other tight end, made some plays in this game as well. He had two receptions. One of them was for 32 yards. A.J. Barner had the touchdown. We talked about that. Cooper Kupp, 4 receptions in this game. Still hasn't really gotten it going offensively. This is a run-first team. You kind of see that. They really rely upon the run. They ran it 35 times. But yeah, Smith-Njigba is the clear number 1 on this team. And the defense, like I said, 6 sacks of Kyler Murray last night. Defense is pretty good for the Seahawks. And then for the Cardinals, Kyler Murray, 2 touchdowns to 2 picks, went 27-41 for 200 yards. Cardinals ran the ball for 89 yards. Trey Benson only had 35 yards on the ground. Murray was their leading rusher. He had that 29-yard run. He had 41 yards on the ground in total. Marvin Harrison Jr., even though with his struggles, he still ended up being the leading receiver, 6 receptions for 66 yards and a touchdown. Trey McBride, of course, one of the more consistent tight ends, 7 of 52. Cardinals defense, 3 sacks on the night. Calais Campbell was making plays. He actually left the game, though, with an injury, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. 39 years old and still doing it. This would be a tough loss for them. If he has to miss time. But the Cardinals' defense has definitely improved from last year. They're a solid unit. They beat the Saints. The Panthers game. It shouldn't have been that close. They were dominating that game, and then they could have won last week against the 49ers. They held the 49ers to 16 points. It's just their offense scored 15. So. Their defense has been okay so far. You could kind of look at their schedule and say, with some of the opponents. But, I think the defense, you definitely have seen a difference between this year and last year. The unit is definitely more improved there. But, yeah, it was a tough loss for them. Tough loss. You can look at this first quarter so far, and you can make the argument, hey, the Cardinals could be 4-0. But they're not. They're 2-2. And next week, they will be taking on the Titans, who aren't very good. So that could be a game that they could potentially bounce back in, and they're at home as well. So now, and the Seahawks, they're 3-1, and they will be taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at home. And the Bucks have all kinds of problems, offensive line issues, and Baker's dealing with a bit of an injury right now, and Mike Evans is out. Chris Godwin, we'll see if he comes back this week, but that's definitely a very winnable game for them, and that'll be at home. So we'll see what happens. But the Seahawks have gotten off to a very good start, and they're another team that could be 4-0 right now if they didn't lose to the 49ers in Week 1. If Bosa doesn't sack Sam Darnold and he loses the ball there. So yeah, Seahawks 3-1, Cardinals are 2-2, and I started off the week 1-0 in my picks. Last week we went, I think, 9-7. Could have went 10-6 if it wasn't for the Eagles and the bad beat, the backdoor of the century with the blocked field goal, and then Jordan Davis returned it for a touchdown. So let's go through these games. So the first game we got here gets us started off very early in the morning. International games are underway. Well, the early ones, because we did have the Mexico game in Week 1. And that is between the Vikings and the Steelers. Both teams are 2-1. Both teams are coming off of wins. The Steelers an ugly win. The Vikings a very convincing win. Carson Wentz will be the starter once again. Steelers are 2.5-point underdogs in this game. Now, if you remember, Aaron Rodgers played the Vikings last year overseas, and they wreaked havoc on him. They banged him up. They hit him a lot. He had 3 interceptions in that game. He still had an opportunity to win the game at the end, but he did throw a pick. And with the Steelers, they're dealing with offensive line issues. They can't really run the football. The defense is still trying to figure things out, although they benefited from the Patriots turning the ball over a gazillion times with the fumbles last week. But you're not going to get that here with the Vikings. The Vikings, I think, are getting... Jordan Addison's coming back this week, so that's another weapon to add to already this loaded offense. Jordan Mason ran the football well last week. I'm still waiting on Justin Jefferson to really get it going. This could be the game that does happen because the Steelers are banged up in the secondary. So you got Jefferson, Addison's back, TJ Hawkinson, and Adam Thielen, having him as like that fourth receiver behind those other guys. It's pretty good. I mean, and then you also have Jalen Nailor that can make plays too. And on top of that, you got this defense, like I said, that gave problems for Aaron Rodgers last week. Yeah, the Steelers have not really been that impressive so far. Week 1 was their most offensively. It was the most impressive, but it was against the Jets and against the coach that was making his debut. So here, I just think it's a tough spot for the Steelers. I think it's a tough spot here. The Vikings right now are the better team. Can the Steelers win this game? Yes. I mean, their defense, even though they've struggled, they've given up big plays, they've struggled to stop the run, they're still getting turnovers. They're still getting the football. They're taking it away. So that could definitely happen in this game. But I don't know. I just feel like Vikings are the better team here. And I think they're going to give Aaron Rodgers problems. They're going to put a lot of pressure on him. So I do like the Vikings here in this spot to win and cover. So then we move on. We'll bring up the game that I'll be at, and that's the Chargers and the Giants. Jackson Dart making his debut. Giants are 6.5-point underdogs. Chargers are 3-0, coming off of that exciting win against the Broncos. Justin Herbert hitting Keenan Allen late, and then Chargers getting the ball back, going down the field, kicking the game-winning field goal. They look really good. The defense is playing well. Herbert's playing well. It looks like an MVP candidate early on here this season. We saw Omarion Hampton get it going a little bit, and now without Najee Harris, it's him now. This is his backfield. And it was probably going to be his backfield anyways, but now with Najee being out, it's more so here early on in the season. So, yeah, I mean, how is Jackson Dart going to do? I expect him to struggle. This is not a great spot for him to be making his debut against a pretty good defense, against a Jim Harbaugh coach defense. So I do like the Chargers to win here because also the Giants defense has been a disappointment as well. And I think they're going to struggle trying to stop Herbert in this offense. Now, the Chargers have to travel across country. You do have to take that into account to an extent. But the Chargers are the better team here. Rookie quarterback making his debut against a good defense. I think the Chargers win and they cover this number pretty easily. But I hope Jackson Dart plays well. We'll see. So now we got next Commanders, Falcons. So the Commanders, it looks like they're going to be without Jaden Daniels for the second straight week. And on top of that, it looks like they're going to be without Terry McLaurin as well with an injury. So without those two in, And how ugly the Falcons looked last week. Now, the Commanders coming off big win over the Raiders at home, got that game right. Falcons, I mean, they didn't even score a point last week. We saw Kirk Cousins for a bit. Michael Penix did not look good. Turning the ball over was not great. It was a very ugly game for the Falcons. But I think, now originally the Falcons were the underdogs, now they're the favorites. I think the Falcons bounce back here. They're at home. I don't think Penix is going to play as bad as he did last week. And I think this is kind of a letdown spot for the Commanders after that win. And look, Marcus Mariota played well, but can he replicate that 2 weeks in a row? We'll see. But I like the Falcons to win in this spot, get back on track. I know last week I said Bijan Robinson's going to have a big game. I always expect him to have a big game. I think we say that every week. I want to see Penix get on the same page with his receivers. Look more comfortable. I like the Falcons to get back on track in this spot. Win this game outright. Cover the number with Jane Daniels being out and now no Terry McLaurin at all. So that's my way of thinking with this game. So I got the Falcons to win and cover. All right, we got a huge line here. Buffalo Bills at home, 15.5-point favorites against the Saints. Now, the line opened at least in my spread pool, was 16.5. The Saints got blown out by the Seahawks last week. Ugly loss. That game was over after the first quarter. Final score was 44-13. And that could probably happen to the Saints in this spot too, with Josh Allen in that offense. But I'm going to say the Saints hang around a little bit. Maybe there's a backdoor in this game where I usually for the most part will take the favorites. I know, make fun of me if you will, if you want. But I think the Saints are going to hang around. They got so embarrassed last week. The Bills, and also the Bills' defense, like the Seahawks' defense is really good. The Bills' defense, I still don't really trust. Okay, I think the Saints can at least hang around a little bit and cover this number. I mean, if they lose, 30-17, they cover the number. So I think they'll hang around enough that they cover this huge number. But the Bills are going to win. The Bills are winning this game very easily. I have no thoughts of, maybe the Saints pull. No. The Bills are winning this game. But I'm going to say the Saints cover the number. It's a big number. And there's another big number here. And this line went up because in my spread pool, we go to the Lions and Browns now. So in my spread pool, it was at 8.5. So now the line's gone up to 10. Now, I did take the Browns last week at home because they were huge underdogs against the Packers. And I trust that. I believe in the Browns defense. And they got that late pick off of Jordan Love. They were able to tie the game, and then they blocked the field goal, and then they end up winning the game on their own field goal. But I don't think that's going to happen here. Okay, I think the Lions, they're starting to hit their stride now. They're coming off of that big win against the Ravens. They're back at home. And I just think this is one of those games where the Lions are going to put up 50 points or close to it like they did against the Bears. And this is a very good Browns defense. But the other thing, too, is, I think the Lions could also make life hard on Joe Flacco and get turnovers and give the offense good field position. I think that can also happen in this game as well. Because, look, Joe Flacco, respect the heck out of Joe Flacco, and I think Joe Flacco can still play a little bit. But, Joe Flacco at this point in his career is not, an every week starter. Okay, at some point he's going to get replaced. They're going to put in one of the young quarterbacks. But, he's one of the pocket passers. He's still one of the pure pocket passers, and that is a problem when you're going up against a pass rush that got to Lamar Jackson, who, as mobile as Lamar Jackson is, they sacked him 7 times. So I think the Lions' defense is going to get after Flacco. The offense is going to put up a lot of points, and the Browns are not going to be able to keep up. So I think the Lions win and cover the big number of 10 points, even though in my spread pool it's 8.5. So I got the Lions to win and cover. Then we got the Titans and the Texans. Both teams 0-3. Someone's got to win this game unless they tie, which, again, I always say this. Please don't. Please don't tie. Please. I hate ties. I hate ties in the NFL. So the Titans are getting 7.5 points. Cam Ward, look, I haven't really watched him closely. Um, first few weeks, he's gone up against some good defenses: the Broncos defense, the Rams defense, and then the Colts defense hasn't been bad this year either. And the Colts blew him out. Um, I mean, Cam Ward has made some plays. There's no doubt about that. That touchdown pass against the Rams was impressive. He's still trying to get on the same page with Calvin Ridley. That's a big key. Some of the young receivers have been making plays. Io Manor, he's made some plays. The Texans, man, I mean, they have just been a colossal disappointment at this point. I did not expect them to be 0-3 at this point. I had them winning the division. I still believe in that defense, but C.J. Stroud, he's struggling. They don't have a consistent running game. The offensive line's a problem. I just don't trust them. I don't trust them. I mean, not to say I trust the Titans either, but the Titans are getting 7.5 points. I mean, until the Texans show me something, I'm going to take the points. I do think the Texans will win, but I have the Texans winning. But I think this game is going to be close. It's a divisional game. Titans gave the Texans problems last year, so I'm going to take the Titans with the points. But I say the Texans do win this game in this spot. And the Titans, Cam Ward's going up against another good defense. So, we'll see what happens. But I like the Titans to cover, but the Texans to win. All right, then we got the Panthers and the Patriots. Panthers are getting 5.5 points. Patriots should have won their game last week against the Steelers if they didn't turn the ball over constantly. Drake May has been playing some good football the last couple of weeks. I know that red zone pick was bad, but it also got tipped by Cam Hayward. Panthers, look, they picked up that huge win last week, but I'm not overly impressed by their offense. I mean, that had a lot to do with the Falcons and them turning the ball over, and they were missing field goals. They get going for it in their own territory and giving the Panthers great field position. So I don't really see it with the Panthers. Now, the Patriots defense, it's not like, they've been spectacular. They made a lot of moves this offseason, but I feel like this is the week that they get after this young quarterback in Bryce Young. They make life tough on him. I think Drake makes enough plays, and I think they win and cover the number. So I got the Patriots to win and cover as well. All right. Now we got a matchup where these two teams know each other well. Last few years. Sorry, I just got a text message. Eagles and Bucks. So originally I was going to go with the Bucks, being a home underdog. The Bucks own the Eagles. Okay, they have owned them for the last couple years now. In the playoffs, and then last year in the regular season, and even if you want to go back when Tom Brady was playing against the Eagles. But the Bucks, to me, the problem with the Bucks is they have so many injuries. Now Baker Mayfield is banged up. All right, he's I think biceps, right? Bicep, quadriceps. He's dealing with an injury to his his throwing arm. The side of his throwing arm. On top of that, offensive line issues, and Mike Evans is not going to play. And it looked like Chris Godwin may have a chance, but now I'm not so sure. So all of that together, and I still really don't trust this defense. Eagles coming off of that huge comeback win against the Rams. They got their full array of weapons. Because if you remember last year in the regular season, I don't think the Eagles had either A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith for that matchup. Saquon Barkley had a good game, but the Eagles struggled in that. I think the Eagles finally get over that hump when it comes to the Bucks, and they knock them off. They beat them. They cover the 3.5. Because it's just the Bucks are dealing with so many injuries. Now, would I be surprised if the Bucks somehow pull it off? No. But I can't take the Bucks this week. Can't do it. So, and actually, I haven't taken them the last couple of weeks. I took them in week 1, didn't take them in week 2 against the Texans, and then I took the Jets, and the Jets ended up covering. So now I'm not taking the Bucks again. So we'll see. But yeah, I like the Eagles to win and cover. Bucks got to get healthy though. Once the Bucks get healthy, I mean this team is going to be really. I mean they're 3-0. This team is dangerous regardless. But you get Mike Evans back, you get Chris Godwin back, Jalen McMillan. This offensive line gets healthy. I mean the sky's the limit for what this team can do. All right, so I think we covered all the early games. Yes, we did. So now let's get into the late window. This is a pretty good game right here. Colts at Rams. The 3-0 Indianapolis Colts, led by Indiana Jones. And, the Rams coming off of that loss. I still don't understand how they lost that game, but it happens. It happens. We've seen it before with teams blowing big leads like that. Rams are 3.5-point favorites. So this could be a game where reality sets in for Indiana Jones. But I do think the Colts can hang around in this game and cover the number. The Rams have a very good defensive front. But I think what cancels that out is the fact that the Colts have a good offensive line. The Colts have a good offensive line. And Daniel Jones can move around a little bit. The Colts have been running the football really well this year, with Jones and obviously with Jonathan Taylor, who's gotten off to a monster start. I don't know if Alec Pierce is going to play in this game, so that kind of hurts the Colts a little bit. But you do worry about the Rams on the back end because once the Eagles' passing game started to open up, they had problems guarding A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. That passing game really got it going. Now, obviously, those weapons are miles better than what the Colts have, but the Colts have pretty good receivers themselves with Michael Pittman and Josh Downs, and A.D. Mitchell and Tyler Warren. So your Rams are going to have their hands full with the pass catchers of the Colts. So I do like the Colts to cover the number, but I say the Rams get back on track. Maybe they kick a last-second field goal, and they knock off the Colts and improve to 3-1. So I think this could be a field goal type game. I won't be surprised if the Rams end up winning, by more than that. But I'm going to take the Colts with the points. The Colts, they could have lost that game against the Broncos. Broncos have a pretty good defense, and this game is indoors. Weather's not going to be a factor. So I do like the Colts to cover in this spot. But it's going to be a very tough game. This is going to be a big test for Daniel Jones going up against the Rams. But I think the Rams bounce back, get the win. But like I said, Colts I think can maybe cover that 3.5. All right, so then we got Jaguars at the 49ers. Now I think Brock Purdy is going to come back for this game. 49ers are 3-point favorites. They're still going to be without George Kittle. I don't know. Ricky Pearsall might not play either, actually, in this game. Because I think he popped up on the injury report. Let me see here. So, Ayuk, it's going to be a while before he comes back. Nick Bosa, of course, is going to be out for the year. Huge loss for the 49ers. Juwan Jennings didn't practice on Thursday. Ricky Pearsall didn't practice on Thursday. So, who the heck is Purdy going to be throwing to? Yeah, I don't know. I might have to reevaluate this game. I do have the 49ers winning and covering because I know they're so injured right now, but I don't trust the Jaguars. I don't trust them. I haven't been impressed with them either. You won 17-10 last week against the Texans. You beat the Texans. But, you choked away a game against the Bengals and then you played the Panthers in week 1. And Trevor Lawrence hasn't been that impressive so far. He's got 4 touchdowns to 4 picks. Yeah, I don't really I don't trust the Jaguars. I don't. The 49ers, look, are they the most impressive 3-0 team at this point? No. They're still dealing with a ton of injuries. Now you got to be throwing to Valdez-Scantling and Kendrick Bourne. They had to bring back. But you know what? You still have Christian McCaffrey. All right? You still got Christian McCaffrey, who's gotten off to a good start this year. Hasn't had that monster game yet. It's going to happen at some point. And I think if you got all these guys, if you're going to have no Pearsall and no Juwan Jennings, it's really just going to be Christian McCaffrey and cross your fingers. But having said all that, I'm still going to take the 49ers to win and cover. I don't trust the Jaguars. I don't. I really don't. I really have not been impressed with them. So that's my thoughts on that game. All right, we're going to go to the Bears, because we're going to say this game as the last late window game. Well, not including the Sunday night game. We'll save Ravens-Chiefs last in the 4:25, 4 o'clock Eastern time window. But we got the Bears and the Raiders. A couple of 1-2 teams. Raiders have lost 2 straight. Got blown out by the Commanders last week. Bears, Blew out the Cowboys. Caleb Williams was very impressive. Yeah, this one's a tough game to pick. So originally, the Bears were the favorites, because in my spread pool the line was they were a half a point underdog, so it was basically a pick 'em. But now the line has changed where the Raiders are 1.5 point favorites. This one, yeah, it's still it still is a pick 'em basically. I'm gonna pick the Bears. I'm gonna still stick with them. It's gonna be tough though, because obviously Caleb Williams is gonna have to deal with Max Crosby. But yeah, Geno Smith. I mean, he hasn't been that great so far this year. He's turning the ball over still. Caleb was flawless last week. I mean, he could definitely let us down this week and not play well. But I think the Bears, they keep it going on offense. You'd like to see the running game get it going a little bit more to help balance out that passing attack. Because, Caleb was hitting everybody. DJ Moore and Luther Burton caught that long touchdown, and Roman Dunze's gotten off to a great start. They just got a ton of weapons on this offense. The Bears' defense has been a disappointment so far, so I do worry about that a little bit. But I'm still going to go with the Bears. So I'm going to say the Bears win as the 1.5 point underdog. So that's an underdog that I do take. And there's going to be another underdog I take here in this game. Ravens at Chiefs. Now, you would think at this point both teams are 3-0, right? No. Both teams are 1-2. So we're going to see at least, again, unless there's a tie, which there better not be, one of these teams is going to be 1-3. Who would have thought that at the start of the year? That when these teams are playing each other, one of these teams has a chance to go 1-3 if they end up losing on Sunday. So yeah, the Ravens, look, their offense has been very good this year. Putting up a ton of points. Averaging over 30 points a game. The Chiefs, yeah, they haven't been impressive. In that win against the Giants, they were not impressive. They weren't. Mahomes made some good plays. The defense, got turnovers when they needed to, off of Russell Wilson throwing moon balls and just, not playing well at quarterback. It is a tough game to pick. Derrick Henry fumbled again last week. I can't believe he's fumbled in all 3 games this year. I don't think he's going to fumble this week. And also, I was listening to, I don't know if it was the Westwood pregame from yesterday. I was listening to something, and they were talking about, could the Ravens potentially bench Derrick Henry? And I'm saying, are you out of your mind? Why would they do that? I know he's been fumbling the football. It's been bad. But they're not going to there's no scenario where they're going to bench Derrick Henry. That's not happening. And when he fumbled the ball against the Bills, he was over 100 yards rushing at that point. I forget what his exact stat line was for the game, but he had a monster game. He had 2 rushing touchdowns in that game. Now, against the Browns, he did nothing. And then he, had the touchdown against the Lions, and it looked like he was on his way to another monster game, but then, did nothing after that. The Lions stopped him at the goal line a couple times on one of the Ravens' next possessions. But there's no way that Derrick Henry's getting benched. I forget what show I was listening to. It wasn't like, show on ESPN or anything. It was on NFL radio. But I forget where. But it's not happening. I think it was NFL radio. It was somewhere. Believe me, someone said that Derrick Henry should be benched, which it's not happening. It's not happening. So yeah, Mahomes and the Chiefs, yeah, they haven't really been impressing me at all. They're 1-2, and their one win is against the Giants. Ravens, again, their offense has been very good. Their defense is not. Do I think the Chiefs are going to start out the year 0-2 at home? I don't. I'm going to take the Chiefs to win as the underdog. I think they're going to win this game. Patrick Mahomes, look, he still owns Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson has only beaten Patrick Mahomes one time. And the Ravens are very fortunate that they won that game. So that combined with, I just can't see the Chiefs losing their first 2 home games. I'm going to take them to win and cover. It's going to be a close game. Could be an ugly game. And, the Chiefs, they got problems on offense with, they got to get Xavier Worthy and Rasheed Rice back. They can't really run the football. But I think the Ravens struggled to stop the run. So maybe this is a game where the Chiefs' run offense gets it going. The Ravens' defense has been a problem. So they got to get that straightened out. And last year was, the run defense was very good. The pass defense wasn't. Everything is bad right now. Everything. Teams have been able to have their way with that defense. So I'm going to take the Chiefs to win and cover, and that's, not good for the Ravens because I have this team going to the Super Bowl. So Chiefs to win and cover. Then we got the Sunday night game. Packers at the Dallas Cowboys. Micah Parsons making his return to Dallas for the first time. After the buzzer beater trade right before the season started. Micah Parsons is going to show Jerry Jones, hey, should have paid me. Should have paid me. Should have kept me. This Packers team is not happy after what transpired last week against the Browns. They are going to want to take their frustrations out on the Cowboys. And the Cowboys are the right team to do it. Cowboys are dealing with injuries on the offensive line to their receiving core, and their defense is not good. This is the type of game that Jordan Love can pad his stats because this defense can't stop anything. Now, Packers had some problems on the offensive line. That's, some injuries to their offensive line. That's why part of the reason Jordan Love was getting hit a ton of times last week, getting sacked. But this Cowboys defense, they can't put pressure on anybody. Jordan Love is going to have a clean pocket. He's going to be able to hit his receivers, do whatever he wants, get the running game going with Josh Jacobs. Offense is going to have their way. And then the Packers defense, look, Packers lost the game last week, not because of their defense. That defense is going to get after Dak Prescott. And it's going to be a long night for him and the Dallas Cowboys. They're 7-point underdogs, which is a lot of points for the Cowboys being at home. I think the Packers are going to win by a couple scores. Now, I think Dak will have put together a nice game when it's all said and done because he'll get those garbage time yards that he loves to get. I think the Packers are going to dominate this game. And we'll come back to this on Monday, and the Cowboys would have won on like a 70-yard field goal by Brandon Aubrey, and then I'll say, yeah, I guess I was wrong on that. But the Packers defense has been really good this year. Cowboys defense is non-existent. Packers just came off of that loss against the Browns. All signs point to the Packers. So I'm going to take the Packers to win and cover. And then we got the two Monday night games. 0-3 Jets against 0-3 Dolphins. Dolphins looked a little bit better last week against the Bills. I mean, they had a chance in that game, but ended up losing that. Jets had a chance. They were up against the Bucks after that blocked field goal, but the Bucks went right down the field, kicked the game-winning field goal, and that was it. Justin Fields was practicing, so he might play in this game, possibly. But I don't know. I'm taking the Dolphins. I'm taking the Dolphins to win. Would not shock me if the Jets pull it off because, the Dolphins are 0-3 for a reason. But I think the Dolphins win. They cover the 2.5. Regardless who plays at quarterback. Then so it's a Monday night doubleheader. So you got one game starting on ESPN at 7:15 Eastern Time, and then you got another game starting at 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time on ABC. That's the Bengals and the Broncos. So the Broncos, 7.5-point favorites. Bengals got blown out by the Vikings last week. Broncos lost a tough game to the Chargers. Look, the Bengals, this defense is not going to be able. This is another defense that can't stop anything. I think Bo Nix in that offense gets it going. And I think that defense is going to get after Jake Browning, make it tough on him. And you're going to see some turnovers from him again, some interceptions. So I like the Broncos in that spot. All right, so to run through the picks one more time, I like the Vikings to win and cover. I like the Chargers to win and cover. I like the Falcons to win and cover. The Saints to cover, but the Bills to win. The Lions to win and cover. The Titans to cover. Texans to win. Patriots to win and cover. Eagles to win and cover. The Colts to cover. The Rams to win. 49ers to win and cover. The Chiefs as the underdog to win and cover. The Bears as the underdog to win. And then the Packers to win and cover on Sunday night. And then I like the Dolphins over the Jets. And the Broncos over the Bengals. So those are my Week 4 picks. Let me know what you guys think about the picks. what do you have in each of the games this weekend? Another great weekend. Let's see what this brings us. More craziness, I assume. So as always, everybody, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the video. And wherever you get your podcasts, make sure to listen to us as well. Just look up Infinite Sports. And also make sure to follow us on the social media platforms in the description below. And as always, everybody, I'm your host, Kenneth Gruenfelder, signing off. Have a good one. Talk to you guys next time. Take care.